Zero trust does not apply to your client. I cannot emphasize enough how important trust and being a trusted partner is to working with clients. It really is one of those things where if you can't trust your client, it's two ways. Let me just make that clear. It's two ways. Trust of your client and your client trusting you, right? So trust is a two-way thing, like any particular relationship. I actually had a mentor of mine tell me, one of my advisors tell me, that you can't make the right agreement with the wrong person, and you can't make the wrong agreement with the right person. And you can insert person with organization. So what that really translates to is, if there is some sort of contract or agreement or terms and things like that you were working with an organization on, there's not a way to try to account for every bad dealing or bad faith or whatever that you, frankly, or that customer may have. Like there is no contract that can anticipate all the lack of integrity moves that someone or an organization could make, right? And in like fashion, when you have an agreement, if some of the terms in there, it's like, oh, that is not quite what I meant or intended. When you're working with an organization that you trust and that trusts you, those sorts of things become minor. It's just a contract amendment and you keep going because there is good faith in there between you from the start. When I think about, especially in cybersecurity, with cybersecurity solutions and tools, you are getting into some of the most intimate parts, many times, of that organization. Their sensitive data, their sensitive systems, some of their most intimate information that definitely should not be public or publicly known. So there is definitely an element of trust in any business, but in particular with cybersecurity, because of the types of solutions and access that you're likely to have, it's paramount to have a mutual sense of trust between you and your client. I really like to think about some of the aspects of trust that are so important from a dating perspective. I got married later than the average age, so in my 30s instead of in my 20s. And I did a lot of dating, going out on first dates, talking to different people, etc. And just the ability for someone finding individuals that say what they mean and mean what they say, and their word is reliable, their word is their bond. That sounds so simple, but in my experience, that was not simple, but it was definitely a litmus test and a very hard boundary that I drew when I was choosing individuals that I would want to engage in, because relationships, especially, I was looking for relationships that would lead to marriage. So especially in that context, trust is really, really important. And while every client that you engage with certainly is not a spouse, the principles are still the same. It's very stressful to be in a situation with a client not being able to trust you, or you not being able to trust a client. That is very stressful because you don't know whether you can take what they're saying, their word for it, or if there's some other sort of meaning, or if there's some sort of back dealing that's going on. There's too much to already have to consider and think about in context of just delivering work well without having to try to figure out if there's some hidden agenda or underlying message, right? So as you're talking to clients, you as a business owner, it isn't just about, again, your client trusting you, but you also having a trust for your client. You have to understand the integrity and values of your client. And it's important that your client understands that about you too. So when you say that you're going to deliver something, deliver on time, in budget, and with the quality that's expected. And if there's something that comes up that you're unable to do it, don't try to obfuscate things or make it seem like, it's some other reason or making up excuses. The best thing is transparency, because it's not only the reputation that you build with one particular client that you have, but it is establishing your reputation in your industry and in your field. And people talk, and the world is a whole lot smaller than what you may think it is, especially when you talk about business. in business relationships and how well you dealt with a particular issue or how well you delivered a service or a product that you were intended to deliver. The other thing that I'll say is don't just wait until you're starting your business to think about the context of building trust with clients. Because in my experience, clients have come from individuals that I may have worked with in the past at other companies, at other organizations that remember my work and what I did. And then years later, years after we're no longer working together anymore at the organization, our careers went down two different paths, etc. But 5, 10, 15 years later, they still remember that they worked with me and the work that I did. And then when they find out that I have a company that provides services related to cybersecurity and risk management and the like, they reach back out and say, hey, I'm at this organization now that has this need. Is this something that your company can do? Now, they wouldn't be coming back to me if even while we were coworkers and colleagues over a decade ago, if I had created the notion about me that I'm not trustworthy, that I don't deliver on my work, that I don't keep my word, that would not have been the notion that they would have about me. So it's important, even before you start your own business, it is so important to remember that every interaction that you have with anyone, when you're working for another organization and it's that organization's clients, you deliver in a way that you would want someone to deliver when it's your company, because you have no idea what these relationships may mean in the future. So always deliver in a way that establishes trustworthiness about you. It is so important. Trust is paramount in building a successful venture. So if you'd like to learn more, I've got story after story all the time, or just have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. LinkedIn is one of my main social media platforms, Tina Williams-Koroma. You can direct message me, or from a company perspective on T-Secure, you can also find us. You can find us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. So certainly feel free to reach out to us in that way. And do subscribe, follow us. More content is coming.